Okay. Welcome back, grade 11. I'm going to try to have more enthusiasm because not on the YouTube comments, but on the in-house comments, apparently I was too dry. So I'm going to try to have some more life as we do this more. Um, so we did nested loops on Monday. Monday. Monday we did nested loops. And then basically the last thing that we have to do in this, like, I'll air quote units. You can't see me, but air quote unit is advanced loops. And we've actually been doing this a lot lately. is Because this one here, when you're using a while loop, to have input validation is something that we've been doing the whole time. Something that I like to do anyway. So that's why, as much as it's advanced, it's not really, because it's actually good practice to do it this way. The reason why it's advanced is some while loops, like the blast off program. If you had done that one was just kind of updating a counter to go through, and just as soon as it got down to 0, the program would end and it'd say blast off and it did its thing. But this one here is actually it's actually asking for input, which we've done. So that's why this one we're not really going to cover too much today, because we've been doing this all the time. And same with if you look here, this little piece of code, the only validation that is done differently is that if someone puts in a number that's wrong, it actually prints an error and then asks it again. And this could have been very similar to when you're doing the Bowser login. Some people were actually able to do that by just saying while password does not equal what was Bowser's password, like 1234 or whatever it was. Well, it's not that. Then you could say print error, like this is not the right password. Do you want to try, like, please enter your password again? So we can do something like this instead for some of our programs now, where it'll keep asking that over and over and over again. So if we think about what we did um, the last couple days, we can just say, like, when you write in, do you want this program to run again? Well, it does not equal yes or no, right? Say they typed in something like John or something weird like that. Then you could just say, no, that's not right. Please enter a valid choice. Um, and then running totals are going to be very important. So we're actually going to do this one at one point. The one thing I did want to show you beforehand was just in nested loops. We had done a while loop, and then inside of it we did a for loop. We can actually do yes, my spelling is still bad, but we can actually do for loop in a for loop. And when we get to probably more of grade 12, especially with the way things are going right now, but in grade 12 we do multi-dimensional arrays. We're going to do just one-dimensional arrays, but when you do multi-dimensional ones, you're going to need loops inside of loops to figure that out. What we can do is say we wanted to print and I'm going to do like the 10 to 20 times tables. Basically for x in range, we're going to start at 10. We're going to stop at 21. So we get all the way up to 20. What we're going to do here is we're not going to do anything right away, but what we're going to do is we're going to go for y in range. So you can't use x again because x is going to take care of this first outer loop. So it's going to start at 10 and go all the way to 20. But y, say we want to do 1 to 10 still. Y is going to do that other thing. So simultaneously, what's going to happen is this x is going to go, it's going to start at 10, and then it's going to come in here, and right away it's going to say, okay, now I have this y, and y is going to go from 1 to 11. And as soon as it goes from 1 to 11, it pumps out, like does whatever code we have in here. Then as soon as it's done, it comes back up to the top and it says, okay, I'm done with 10. What do I do next? Okay, go to 11. 11 is the next one. Goes to 11. Then it comes in here and it goes, okay, start again. We go from 1 to 10. Goes back up here, goes to 12, and keeps repeating until it goes to 20, right? Because it always goes one less than what's there. And then it does the same thing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to print x times y. I guess we can make it look a little bit nicer. X equals. Actually, let's just make it look like a table. So x times y, comma, slash t. Now the slash t will actually, I think it's the slash, will actually make it tab. So if I run this, oh, wrong slash. That's how you can tell if you did the right slash or not. It does this. So wrong, I had the right one to begin with. Run it again, save it. What is going on here? This should be tabbing. Oh, that's what we have to do. End equals. So by default in Python, every time my mind switches between Python and Java, I sort of mess things up. But in Python, the print automatically says, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go to a new line instantly. If you want to make it so that it actually tabs over first, what you have to do is you have to tell it, break your old end. Your old end was, I'm going to hit a new line. My new end is I'm going to tab just for this here. And then once it's done, it's 1 to 10, it'll break out of the loop, and then that's where I'm going to tell it to go to a new line. So to add a comment here, make a new after 1 to 10, and the end equals, forces it to not go to a new line. And this will be important if we get to it. The plan is to try to get to it, but when we read and write to files, then we can keep running programs over and over again. But now, if we look at this here, see how it nicely tables it out, and they all tab. So you can see here it just kind of jumps. I think it's like eight spaces make the tab in Python. I don't know off the top of my head, but basically it'll make the automatic tab. It tabs here and then goes new line, and actually new lines it the whole time. And then you got here. So here's the 10 to 10, like 10 from 1 to 10 is here, 11 from 1 to 10 is here, all the way up to 20. If we wanted to make it a little bit, better, because some of us know this one, we could actually go from 11 up to 20. And actually do 10. So if we do this, now I'll have to make it wider, the screen here. But it still does this nicely, where it tabs them out nicely. If you start to get too crazy and the digits don't line up, what'll end up happening is, so let's see if I can make that, come on, too many windows open. If we went too crazy in our double digits and they actually got to be larger, like 3 digits, it'll start making things look really wacky there, and the table won't look as perfect, which is fine. We can deal with that in the formatting, but for now, just that'll be it. So you can actually do, the whole point of this was to say you can do any loop inside of any loop. It doesn't have to be a while and then a for. It doesn't have to be, it can be a for and then it has a while inside of it. It can be a while and a while. Those are possibilities. There's not just one way of doing it. I know I showed you only one. This is a second way, but there's you can do any loop inside of any loop. Just like you can put an if statement inside of them, you can do an if statement and then have a loop inside of it. They're very adaptable. There's no set way on using it as long as the actual process works. So that's kind of that. With this one here, what I was going to do was just show you how to do the next part, which was when we have sort of an accumulator is what we call it. So there's a variable outside. It goes through a loop and it'll keep adding to it. And then once it goes through there, it'll then process the number. So what I was going to do is an average calculator. And what we're going to do is first find your total, like your total of your grades. And you always have to set it equal to 0 before you start. So then in case it doesn't go through the loop, there's no error to it. So always set up a variable outside the loop. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask how many grades we are adding. So So this is actually where we can do that input validation one. So we can just say here, while max grades is less than 1, right? Because we don't want 0. This is where we can say, we can print like error must have more than 1 grade to work. Actually, let's do it less than 2 then. Because if they put in 1, there's no point in trying to find your average. And then what we'll do here is just put this same line here. So this is where we're going to print error message. And this is the input validation. So if we just run this right now, I'm going to put this off to the side so that you can kind of see this. So how many grades are we adding together? 1. Ooh. Well, that would help if I spelled it right. I'm going to close this so then you can actually see it. So run this. How many grades are we adding together? 1. Error, must have more than 1 grade. -1. Error, must have more than 1 grade. -12. Still doesn't work. Okay, now if we did 4 here, nothing happens because there's no error there. So this is one way of doing it. Now I would definitely add in a few little spaces here, because this is where some of you guys on user input or user experience, I took off marks because this is bad. How much it's basically how much is showing up 1 by 1 by 1. So then here, and if we did this now, so how many grades are we adding together? 1. Notice how that little bit of space, I know it doesn't seem like much, but it actually makes it a little bit easier to read. Our programs are going to get pretty difficult pretty quickly. So we're going to have to make sure that this is a little bit nicer. And then 5. So just adding in these blank prints helps with that. You can also do here, I wouldn't do it in an input, but if we wanted to add a space here in between, just do a /n like that. And if I show you how this works, 1, Notice how it's doing that, but now this is almost too many spaces. So there's a weird fine line between not enough space and too many spaces. So now all I want to do with this is we're going to do a for loop here. Now we will get the grades. Now we're going to get the grades for each one they want. And for x in range. And then the easy thing we have to do here is just max grades. So it's going to go as many as they've asked for. What we're going to do is we're going to ask for the grade. Input. Please enter the grade. I've been putting spaces beside this because some people, what they will do in the past is in their input when they run their program, because they don't want it showing up right beside their question mark, they'll put a space and then they'll type in their number, and that space actually takes up a character. So you'll end up getting errors because it'll take the space and it can't make it into an integer. Sorry, I got a message from another class that posted stuff. Oh boy. Okay, so we're going to ask them to enter the grade. Put in the space there just because I want to make sure you don't put in a manual space because you'll get an error that will make no sense. We can, to be exhaustive, is while grade is less than 0. Print error. So the nice thing here is must be over 0. With this new input validation, we can actually run our program and then we don't have to rerun it if they type in the wrong thing. So sometimes even I do it when I'm running your programs. I do the wrong thing. So the nice thing here is now we actually get rid of that. Oh shoot, we got to run this all over again to see what the problem is by doing these validations. So if they enter a grade that's good, what we're going to say is total. When the grade is correct, add it to the total. So all you have to do that is total is equal to whatever it was before plus the grade. So we have to do that because it doesn't know to just say plus grade. Like this says take what it was before. So at the start it's 0, add on the first grade. If we put in 50, now it's equal to 50. Then it takes 50, adds on the next grade, adds on the next grade. And this is going to do it as many times as possible. Once your loop is done, we'll do the average, and average is going to be equal to total divided by max grades. Now, for now, I'm not going to worry too much about decimals. Print your average is. I'm not going to worry too much about the decimals right now because I realize how long the video's gone. So if we run this, how many grades are we adding together? 4 for this semester. Enter grade 65, 75, 88, 95. Sounds about right for my high school career. So my average is 80.75 this year. At the end, if you want to make this, you want to spice it up a bit, put in an if. If the average is above 79.5, they get honors. If it's between, 74.5 and 79.5, they get their merit. If it's less, tough luck. I don't know. You can do that though. You can keep going with this program. Reminder, email with any questions. Some of these videos, especially this one now, is really long. So instead of you having to worry about downloading off the classroom, I am uploading them to YouTube. So there'll be a YouTube link as well.